Hey guys, welcome back to At the Players Pub. This is episode 2. I've got two of my other players with me. Last time, if you watched our first episode, and if you didn't, I encourage you to. We had some technical difficulties, had to do it off my cell phone, so it wound up being broken into two pieces. But essentially, I was able to bring to the table Autumn Willow, who plays the male half-orc barbarian named Bard, and I had my friend Josh as well, who was playing the Tortle monk named Uta. So, we had an opportunity to talk a little bit about their experiences playing RPGs and what their thoughts on the campaign were so far, and just some of the dynamic between the characters, all that good stuff. And we drank espresso because we did the episode very early in the morning. So that was useful for our brain power. Today, we are late in the afternoon, so we're staying truer to the name of pub, and we've poured ourselves a couple refreshing adult beverages, some more adult than others. But I have two of my other players, which now you'll have met 4 of the 5 that make up the party. If you've watched some of my other videos, especially some of the Legion content that I've done, then you may be familiar with Ryan. And Ryan plays the Paladin, who has some interesting changes on his horizon, named Sir Robert Bastion, correct? And over here we have Mike, and Mike plays Colby Jack, our half-elf warlock. Could you drink that a little louder? This is why he fails all his charisma rolls. So these are the 2 players I brought to the table with me today. If you've been kind of keeping track with the DM journal videos I post, then you'll kind of have the most up-to-date idea of where we are in the campaign. But I'm going to start off the same way I did with Autumn Willow and with Josh. I'd like to get a little bit of background from you guys on what your experience, like your history of playing games, playing RPGs has been, and how you came to kind of be playing with me. So I don't know if either one of you have preference to start.
Why don't you go ahead, Mike?
Oh, wonderful. Well, I have the least experience possibly of everybody in the entire crew.
I think that's accurate, eh? Yeah. Autumn Willow was playing for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Whereas you joined into our last campaign with Ryan, like in the back quarter.
I think last 3 months of it.
Yeah, and then you just kind of rolled into this one, right?
Yeah. My first real try at an RPG before that was sort of a one-off that we did with some friends where it involved zombies and colonial times.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that was pretty fun, and that kind of what led me to want to try and get back into that, because it was just a one-nighter, but it was a lot of fun. And I think at one point we used a baby as a distraction.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, you totally did that.
We found did you hear this story?
Oh, a little bit. I was invited to play the next one at some point. I didn't quite make it, though.
We were going through the woods and found a cabin that had like basically been ransacked, and there was a baby left behind, and we were hiding in the cabin, and there was a horde of zombies shambling around, and the baby started to cry, and it was giving away our position, so we had to run, and my character's idea was to take the baby and throw it at the zombies, and the zombies would all stop and eat the baby.
I think my favorite part of that was the absolute stunned look on the DM's face.
Yeah.
Like, you're actually doing this. You're all terrible people. I think I want to leave now.
Yeah.
But it worked. And
it did work. It absolutely worked. Great moments in role play.
Yeah.
But yes, and if I recall too, there was another instance like a few years ago where a few of us were playing a campaign being run by Cole, and Cole's actually my 5th player, and you'll meet him another time. And you kind of stepped in for one session and played like a prefab warrior kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah, prefab warrior with like 0 intelligence.
Right.
So
okay, and so what are your thoughts, I guess, in terms of your experiences playing? Like,
I like it. It's fun. It's kind of hard to role play properly and get out of your own headspace. That's a really challenging part about it. But I'm really enjoying getting together with you guys and Autumn Willow and the rest of the crew once a week, and it's good to have hobbies, kids.
Yeah, and it's definitely easier when you are with like a good group of people who can make that transition from one mindset to another easier because they're doing the same thing. Like, it's That it's like I've mentioned before, like the example of just using colored light bulbs to give a better atmosphere. It helps keep in character. It helps keep your mindset where you need to be. And just like you're saying, it's easier when you've got, it's like I don't feel as weird talking from the headspace of my character when you're talking to me from the headspace of your character.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. All right, great. So that's pretty neat. Ryan probably has the longest bill in terms of RPGs and at the table, maybe with the exception of Cole. I'm not sure Cole's extension of
maybe just because he's so significantly older.
That's true.
That he might have a couple of years more.
That's true. Cole's like a 50-year-old man, living inside of a 30-year-old's body who thinks he's 18.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
accurate.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I didn't really start playing board games or tabletop games or anything like that until university. I was an avid gamer as a kid. Yeah, video gamer. I played mostly strategy games on PC, but reading and writing was always such a huge part of my life. Fiction, stories, all that sort of thing, and I love it. And so I love narrative. Then I started getting into video game RPGs and had a great time. And I've heard about D&D when I was in high school, but I didn't really understand how it played out. One of my friends had like an old red box thing. We opened the board, and I was like, I don't really understand. Like, how do you play? Are there like minis on the table?
Right. Yeah.
What do you do? I didn't get the role-playing aspect, the spoken aspect, the kind of narrative aspect. It's like
the improv piece.
Yeah, the improv. It's improv sitting down. I had a hard time kind of grasping that, and I didn't quite get it, so it never really picked up. It wasn't until university that I met a group of friends that played D&D, and they're like, Ryan, you're the writer. Here's a stack of books this big for 3.5 edition. Read them and run the next game in 2 weeks. And I said, okay. And I started...
I'm being used.
Yeah. And I started DMing when I was 18, and I'm 26 almost now, so I've been DMing for quite some time. However, when I was 19, I had the occasion to finally play as a player. And the first character I ever made, and the only character I've ever played for any extended period of time other than Sir Robert Bastian, was Anders Thane, a character that everyone in our group knows quite well. He was a Lando-esque character.
Because he also... in another universe, basically, he was an NPC in the campaign that you ran for us.
In the campaign that I ran, that was about 1.5 years for our group here. Anders Thane was an NPC introduced like day one and became an integral part of the story as it went on. That could have died within the first couple sessions, or went on, and the way the story went, he became a very important NPC. Enemy churned ally, churned maybe enemy, churned actual ally by the end of it. And so he was the first character I played, and I played him, and he was very much more like myself, a bookwormy kind of character. He was a magic user, not very strong, not very confident, not very smart per se, but very creative, very non-linear in his approach, and used that in his interactions.
Right.
But for the most part, that character was my only experience as a player, and I've been DMing.
Yeah.
And that's been forever. So playing characters has always been super fun for me.
Yeah. So you've got a decent amount of experience as both a player and a DM. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So Mike, what was your kind of inspiration for your character, and how have you kind of enjoyed playing him so far? Have there been any like challenges for you? I tend to ask multiple questions at once, so you just answer them however you want.
Yeah, you're an awful interviewer.
Yeah, I'm the worst. I'm the worst. It might be this drink.
Well, my inspiration for my character and how he came to be was just like, I wanted to be a more offensive magic user, because when I joined Ryan's campaign, I was a cleric and I was a healer, so I was...
But you were like a warrior cleric.
Yeah, I was a warrior, but I mean like offensive magic. Like as a cleric, it just seemed like, okay, heal and then this
buffs and
buffs. Yeah, it was like I liked like watching your character play, where it was more like a utility belt. Like, we're in a tough situation. Oh wait, I got this.
Yeah,
boom,
exactly.
and then okay, we're not screwed anymore.
Yeah,
so that was kind of neat because one of my favorite parts about playing RPGs is like the unexpected element and kind of figuring out the whole puzzle thing. So I was looking at the different types of magic users, and I was reading up on warlocks, and then I came across how.
Did you get a good look at that warlock?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure.
I sure did.
Very good.
And I was reading about how they don't inherently have magic. It's kind of like given to them, whether they want it or not. And it was that second part that really gave me like an idea, as this person sort of like acquired his magic abilities and didn't necessarily want them. They were sort of forced upon him. And so I came up with the idea of the ST demon, as we call it.
Yeah.
Where he was he bedded a powerful demon princess, and she kind of took him as her own to be a magical slave.
And I can't recall if I've ever in previous videos really gone into with any kind of real description Colby's familiar, which is an imp named Poncho. And Poncho is not just a familiar. It operates exactly like a familiar, but it also serves as a kind of a servitor to your source of power, that demoness kind of thing, or demon queen, or whatever she is.
I looked up her name before I came here. That's the only preparation I did.
Good, because I already don't know what it is. I remember. Yeah, Aldenac, that's what it is, yeah. And she's like OG. Like, she goes back to, like, some of the first editions of D&D, I think, if I recall. Really? Yeah, reading up on it.
I didn't realize you took actual...
Oh, yeah, I didn't do that. Yeah. He did that, yeah.
I looked it up as supposed to be the goddess of change, and she delights in the pervasion of innocence.
Yeah, so basically, if you're familiar with Warhammer, it's female Zinj.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Slanesh and
So, yeah, that's exactly right. But anyways, what's great about it is that this Poncho character is basically like a combination of Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, and who else did we say? Oh, and the hormone monster from Big Mouth on Netflix. If you're familiar with that series, watch it if you haven't. It's good. Hey, can I get sponsorship that way?
No,
I think so.
I tried. But anyways, yeah, and he roleplays great because
in fact, he's been demonetized.
Damn it. But he's always trying to basically, well, not trying to, but like situations will happen where Poncho will then try and have Colby do some unsavory things, to which I often will call for a wisdom check to say, are you able to resist that urge? Because even far and away, and this is what I find interesting about your character, is that it's not just a matter of, yes, I have this magic compulsion, but even before he had those powers, he was basically a hound dog.
Yeah.
Like, that was his whole shtick.
But now it's kind of become like his curse.
Yeah,
it's like he used to love to drink. He used to love going after women and stuff like that. And like now he just has no choice. Hey, see that see that pig over there? And sometimes it could be maybe even a literal pig. It's like, you're gonna go fuck that thing over. I don't want to do it.
That's right. Yeah. So so now how have you found playing this character so far? Because we're now at least 2 months, maybe 3 months into this campaign, something like that.
You put up the 7th journal?
Yeah, so 7 weeks. So I guess that's about 2 weeks or a little more than that, or 2 months rather.
2 months.
How have you found it?
I'm enjoying it. It's a way different play style, because before with my other character, he was more of a tank and he just like rush in and start bashing stuff. But now I've got to be a little more clever, stay in the back and just kind of launch Eldritch Blast at people.
Colby!
Every time.
Yeah.
And as long as I don't fail my rolls, which happens all the time with our group because we suck.
Yeah, the rolls are just so bad.
Unless there are demons around, then Robert rolls like a beast.
The dice awaken. Yeah.
I still don't feel like I've quite found the character yet. I might give it a bit of a voice once I feel more comfortable with it. Right now, I'm not giving a character voice. I don't care what you think, people. I'm just not doing it.
No, and a character voice is not always like How long did I play with you guys? Like a year? Almost?
No, almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
You only missed the first 3 months.
Oh, okay. So I played majority in the last campaign. My guy never had a voice, but I always kept him in character.
Yeah.
Was the thing, right?
Yeah. Everyone's different. Like, I only do voices for my characters because for me, so I have a bit of a theater background like Josh. And for me, it's like my
Netflix
mask.
famous.
It's my. I am actually on Netflix.
Yeah,
that's
and,
true.
And
waiter number 2.
Yeah, no, Chris's Inheritance, Cardinal.
You're a Cardinal?
Yeah, I'm a cop.
Nice.
Yeah, OPD. Ontario
Jesus.
Police Department. Anyways, so one of the things I really liked in theater was Commedia dell'arte, which is improv. It's this old classic Italian improv, and a lot of like sitcoms are based off it. And you don't play a character, you play a caricature, like the captain or the doctor. And I played the captain, which is like a super boisterous, bravado type guy. And the way it works is you have to wear a mask. And so once you put the mask on, you sink into the character. You're in a different skin.
And that's what I was going to say. It's almost like a player aid to do the voice because it helps you to be in that.
So for me, the voice tells me I am this character.
Yeah.
And if we're at the table and I don't use the voice, it means what I'm saying is me as a player.
Yeah, that's also useful.
And it helps everyone distinguish. And so as much as possible, I speak as the character voice. And that lets people know that I'm speaking to them in character. I take on a certain expression. I take on a certain voice. And that way players get that kind of cue that this isn't Ryan, this is Sir Robert Bastian.
Well, some people get very uptight when you don't use character voice. Anyone that listens to the Adventure Zone would understand.
That's true. But no, I've been, as you kind of described with some of your history there, is that you've basically dabbled with role playing a few different times. With prior to this, your biggest RPG outside of the TV screen experience was basically like the Pathfinder card game that we played.
Yeah.
And that was more just like understanding dice mechanics and the world as opposed to actually having to do any role play. And, this not being your first experience, because you did play in that other campaign that Ryan ran with us, I've been impressed with your role play ability immediately. And I think that, just like you were saying before, the only thing that you're trying to still grapple is just the best way to play that character. So, like, for example, in our last session, if you did watch the last DM's Journal, the big fight was between basically an insane little Darrow, 6 skeletons, and a flesh golem. And the flesh golem was the big threat. And essentially, flesh golem, like many of the other golems, is like immune to like so many kinds of damage. About half the party had the capability to wound the flesh golem. One of them was Ryan's character, because you have that super cool lightsaber sword that is very magical. And one of them was your character, because you can sling magic, right?
Yep.
And one of the things that we noticed, or that I noticed anyways, I've had a discussion with Ryan previous to this, because I think we're going to kind of do like a bit of a group huddle at our next session before we jump into play, is that, you would have your familiar go attack skeletons, but then you were slinging spells at skeletons as opposed to the flesh golem.
Yeah.
And that you used... what was that spell called? The fire one.
Sacred Flame.
Sacred Flame. And Sacred Flame doesn't hit quite as hard as Eldritch Blast.
No,
but then
especially
also
the way that I have it beefed up, because it
that's
does
true.
Serious
that's
damage.
true. But then even on top of that, it was like, and this is a thing more for maybe all the characters at the table, is that when you hit the golem with the Sacred Flame, because there was one time you did that, and I gave this description like, the golem starts freaking out and it's howling in kind of pain and rage because it has a weakness to fire. And I wasn't actually sure if anyone picked up on that. I mean, it was later in the fight. Like, I think after you hit with that, only one or two other hits killed him.
Is radiant damage.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. It is radiant. There are a lot of times,
I think you screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I screwed up in your favor.
Yeah.
So.
Sacred Flame. Oh, must be fire damage.
No, it's a theoretical flame. Yeah. It's like the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing too, is like, yes, I pick up on a lot of these things, but like I pick up on them. My character would not.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because my guy's not dumb, but he's also not Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
Which is what.
But I would also encourage you that in those scenarios, if you're really like, if you're saying, okay, should I take advantage of that? I mean, you can always tell me that your character would mentally be struggling with that, and I'll just call for an intelligence check.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because the reason that I do those narrative, like, oh, it's having a bad reaction, is not so the players can pick up on it.
Yeah.
It's so the characters can pick up on it. And I appreciate the fact of, but is my guy really kind of smart enough to pick up on that? I was like, well, let's find out. Do an intelligence check, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I struggle, like, on that point, I struggle with the acting portion of the RPG, but what I try and stick with would my character be doing this? Would my character...
And that's the most important part.
Yeah,
that's absolutely the most important part. So that's cool. Okay, so basically everything that I just asked you, I'm going to ask you now. So like, how do you find your character and playing him, that kind of thing?
So one thing that I struggle a lot with when I get an opportunity to play a character is, I get to play a character. As a DM, I get to play all the characters.
Yes.
So if there's one thing I want to try out, I'm like, this sounds fun to do for an NPC or like an enemy type or like a recurring villain. I can try it out. As a player, you're like, okay, this is who I'm going to be for the next like several months plus. And
Mike, would you be so kind as to let the dog in?
Mara, you're so pathetic. Help!
that was zombie style at the window, like.
So one of the things I struggle with was I want to play a character that I'm going to enjoy playing, something that's going to be different. And when most people start an adventure party, it's like everyone is a new adventure, and they all meet each other for the first time. So I thought to myself, wouldn't it be neat to play a guy who's already been an adventurer, whose golden age of adventuring is done?
Yes.
So I created what I deemed a classic adventure, a paladin, a guy with a fighting spirit, who's fought the hard fight. He has a noble background, so he's like that classic knight who took up the sword in face of evil. And his adventures are all like versus undead and spirits and like fighting for the pantheon sort of thing.
Yes,
he's a very like classic crusader paladin.
Yeah.
So basically, Ryan's having a quarter life crisis, and this is the embodiment of that.
That's right. Yeah,
it's all downhill from here.
Yeah. So.
Art imitates life.
And
life imitates art.
So I made a character who's human. He's in his mid-40s. For those of you who've read the Dresden Files, visually I'm inspired a lot by Michael Carpenter, who's the paladin of that, one of the Knights of the Cross.
And amazing.
Yeah. And so another thing that I kind of thought of was, think a character like Obi-Wan from Star Wars, who's already had
now this is a little bit, though, also of the new development that's coming for your character.
I was thinking Obi-Wan recently finishing the Clone Wars kind of thing. Like, he's just come out of it, and he's still got that 30 years ahead of him of stuff to do. And he still wants to do the desert, but he can't. Sitting in the desert. So I made a character who's in his mid-40s, and his whole idea was it was a revenge story. So this guy's fueled by vengeance. And so he went into the Underdark with a party, and his whole party died. And so I looked at him as a level 10 paladin and de-leveled him to 1 because he got captured and stuck and lost faith. So he de-leveled himself because of his failures and had to kind of work his way back up. So it was more of a redemption.
Yeah, it was a representative kind of thing, which I think I've always enjoyed your character quite a bit in the way that he narratively is reflected in the game mechanics. It works almost flawlessly.
Yeah.
And so jumping off of your kind of Obi-Wan analogy, is you have this big change that you've already kind of discussed with me just to make sure that it was all kosher.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea. Do you want to say a little bit about that, or do you want to save that for when we play this Sunday?
I'll talk a bit about it because this might, I don't know when this is going to be released or whatnot, but I'm going to talk about some of the intentions.
Yeah, that's true.
Some people, the players have some out-of-game conversations, and this is kind of fueled by a lot of that, and some of the stuff that maybe not be touched on because, while the DM journals give kind of an overview, this is the story of a rapport between two players and the two characters that they play, how the dice has been working for them.
Yeah.
So my character, Robert Bastion, I've been playing him as if he's in his 20s. He's a young paladin. He's trying to get up in there, do some damage, but I've been rolling very poorly for the most part.
Because he's old.
He's old. So my initiative
rolls... replace your dice?
My initiative roll, I did replace them. They're like sun dice now, except... maybe this will change with the certain changes. We'll see if luck changes. Gamers are superstitious folk.
Yeah, so like sand people.
Yeah. So what's been happening is I've been rolling, under a 10 for initiatives. I've been rolling really low. The only saving grace is I can heal and I've got high AC. So he's been able to tank and get in there and kind of contribute that way, or that odd smite. I hit real hard. I'm going to throw everything behind a smite and do that one huge hit. Instantly get dropped by the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then it's been a real struggle for him to protect the party. Like, people have been dropping like flies around him, especially the NPCs, and he has a history of saving people and defending people and, succeeding. And succeeding has not been what's been happening for Sir Robert. He's been failing with style. It's been about it's been about loss management for him, and he's let a lot of people down, and he's taken a lot of guilt on it.
I mean, to run with your Star Wars analogy you're using, it's almost like it's not just I'm the Obi-Wan because I'm the, old adventurer who's ready to try and pass on the torch kind of thing. But it's also almost a Poe Dameron realization. Of, I can't just be the hot shot like like I'm used to doing. I have to play it smart.
So what's been happening with him is throughout the campaign, since like day one almost, he's been getting along with a character named Bard. And Bard is this young, I think Autumn Willow said he's like 19, 19-year-old, half-orc, but he's not like a barbarian in the sense that he's like, I'm a raging monster, but like, I am brawling because I'm not trained in the ways of fighting. I don't know how to fight. I'm just doing what I can.
And that's a conversation we had before too, where it's this idea of her class of barbarian isn't so much I'm a mountain man and an outdoor extremist kind of fighter in that sense, but more just the idea of I'm hugely imposing because of my half-orc heritage, and I just kind of became the de facto protector of my little village, and so I'm basically an untrained fighter, so I just kind of go berserk and do as much damage as I can.
And her background is folk hero, and her character has been, pure of heart, trying to do the best to save people, always participating. There are a lot of times because her character and my character are the physically strongest players, where we as a team will like lift up something big or open a door, like, have very like almost like a father figure to her, her character, or an older brother, or something a little more linked. And her character has been seeing the refined training of Sir Robert Bastion, the power he wields, and is like, wow, you're a really brave man. And Robert Bastion's response is usually like, you show a lot of heart. Like, her character, Robert Bastion, usually runs in first with Bard, one step behind. And a lot of times in combat, Autumn Will has been rolling hot. Like, really well.
Yeah, she's officially Bard the Bone Crusher, as she basically single-handedly took out like all 6 of those skeletons, almost.
So
I killed some.
Yeah, I think you and Poncho took out 1 or 2 of them. I think.
So
Poncho took out Stupido there.
Yeah, Stupido with the.
That was my favorite part about that whole combat, was just the character assumption that Pepito was some like crazy powerful caster, this, that, and the other thing, and at the end of the day, he was just like this crazy dude. He was like this insane guy that was like, I'm the avatar of a murder god. It's like, oh, okay, this is fine.
He did bring a flesh golem to life. So.
He did, but I mean, even still, like, I mean, maybe I'm not maybe as chalked up on my DM or D&D lore as you might be, but like golems, aren't they more the providence of like a construction? It's like almost a mechanical thing that someone puts together, as opposed to it's like, I summoned this.
Yeah, it's like Frankenstein's monster.
Right, yeah.
He built Frankenstein's monster, he summoned Frankenstein's monster.
That's right,
He gave it life, he didn't revive it.
That's right, yeah. Because he was insane.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, Sir Robert's been witnessing Bard doing super well. And there was a critical point in the game where Sir Robert died, like permadead. And that was before that lightsaber is found. And he fought a Wraith. And a Wraith is something that Sir Robert probably would have fought in his heyday, in critical times against it, some boss, some far-flung adventure. These were things he fought. These are things he's beaten. But not this time. He died against it. And who was succeeding and who was protecting the party? Bard.
Who brought him back to life?
And he was brought back.
Hold on a second. Just to interrupt there.
Yeah.
I think someone, I'm not going to say who, blinded the Wraith and had it run away somewhere for about 3 turns.
I think it's a little irrelevant at this point. But what's done is done.
Well, what I like about that too, though, is like, it's like when you hear in like real life when how people like will sometimes die on the operating table, but then come back and they like, for one reason or another, some of them feel like they have this big revelation or epiphany about the afterlife or whatever, and like to me, that's kind of what your character went through. That was a pivotal moment, whereas like not only was I defeated by something that I'm used to dealing with, which kind of makes me feel like I'm not quite in step as I used to, but on top of that, it's like I for a moment saw the other side and was met by some god, some whatever, and then to me it so flawlessly now transitions into
he's gay.
Doing something that's not technically in the book, but that the DM is allowing, which is reverting levels and regaining them in a different class.
Yeah.
So essentially, Robert Bastian is trading in paladin levels for cleric levels as he's receiving this clarity and this realization that I'm no longer the front line. I'm no longer the hero of this adventure. It's the next generation, the passing of the torch. And he has this mystical sword that he's basically going to use as this was your father's sword. So, slowly training the next generation to take that up. And Autumn Willow as a character, or as a player, has said, I'd take some paladin levels. And has said, Bard sees what Robert does and is like, that's super awesome. Like, I could use that to help people.
Yeah.
And the thing about a paladin class is it has like weapons training and proficiencies.
And I would go so far as to say, like, because the sword's name is Dawnbringer, correct? Yeah. Like, Dawnbringer is not as, clumsy as a battle axe. It's an elegant weapon for a more civilized age, I would say.
A weapon that you can use as a barbarian and use your barbarian rage and smites and weapon training. It would make her character a very potent and dangerous hand-to-hand fighter, a very refined, brutish fellow with good intentions. And I think that's where it's sort of heading.
And this brings out another interesting thing, is like so far we've seen a very interesting character connection between you and Bard. And there's almost now going to be this kind of like, yes, we're all this adventuring group, but it's like her character of Bard is like Rocky and you've become Mick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just like, you're a character in your own right, but you're also kind of like this tag team of you and her, or you and him, or whatever.
Which has been happening quite a bit.
Yes. And so what I'm interested to see is if other bonds like that will be established. Like what character do you feel that Colby kind of identifies most with or has the best connection with?
It's tough to say at this point, but he seems to be getting along with Ken, of all people, who is insane.
Ken's the most likely to connect with your character in a certain way.
It's tough.
Well, and both of those characters seem to have a high like self-preservation kind of thing. Like Bard and Robert are both very kind of, let's just wade into the danger and do what's right. And Colby and Ken tend to be more of the idea of like, well, if we have to, but if we don't have to, then why do we want to deal with that? Like, that's not why we're here. I don't want to die. Like,
they get dragged into combat
because of you guys.
Because if we go then who's going to soak the hits for them when they're alone?
That's right.
That's what it comes down to.
And like with my character and Robert's character, Robert is almost taking the position of like when you see a movie like a crime movie, and this guy's like the main investigator, and you're trying to, because like I'm keeping my magical well, not really necessarily magical powers, but the fact that I'm a warlock and my familiar, who is a demon, kind of trying to keep it hidden from Robert, and Robert always keeps like
missing him.
Just missing him. Like,
totally unintentionally.
Does a check, and it's like, there's a demon in the area. I need to kill it. And it's like, oh shit. What was that?
and the most hilarious part is in combat, what usually happens is I'll fight, the demon's round but invisible. I'll go down, and that happens to be the turn that the demon is able to attack, comes out of invisibility, gets killed, and then I get revived, and I'm like, where's that demon? Oh, we defeated it. Good. And it's back. It's like the same scent keeps coming up.
It's really
good. Like a little mosquito circling his head.
Now, is that a level 1 paladin ability?
It's an ability that I'll continue to have.
Okay, that's what I was curious. I was wondering if the trope will continue.
No, so what I did was I reverted enough levels to keep the lay on hands, keep the weapon fighting style, keep the the basic abilities.
We're basically just retroactively doing it so that it was like I started as a level 1 paladin,
and when I had to be level 2 paladin, level 2 cleric.
So you only have it half. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it's just cleric from now on.
See, that's interesting though as well, because it kind of sucks for you then, right? Because no matter which class you're talking about, level 3 is that big kind of, okay, now specify and open up into your abilities.
For Paladin, it's level 3 to get your Oath.
Yes.
But level 2 is when you get weapon style, smite, spell slots.
Right. But like clerics, right? Like level what do they get at level 3?
Level 2.
But what do they get at level 3?
Nothing too special.
Oh, really?
Level 2 is when they get their stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's even better than
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did was
level 3 you can specialize, right?
I thought it was level 2. I'm
pretty sure all of them are level 3.
Okay, keep talking. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay. But yeah, so that's really good. So I mean, I guess maybe one of the last things we'll talk about, because we're getting short on time here, is what do you guys think is like what's gonna? I just want to know, like you made a reference actually before we started filming the video today that this is kind of like our version of the Talking Dead, where it's like not only is it just a character inspection, but it's also
level 3. They get like access to second level spells. Level 2 is when they get that specialization. So level 2 Paladin, level 2 Cleric is like best of both worlds.
Have you chose your specialization yet, though?
Yeah.
Or is that for to be revealed later?
You'll see, but basically, heroes never die.
Well, ha!
After I already took on what's the spell one there?
It doesn't hurt to have it twice.
True. Like the save undead one.
Yeah.
Oh, you spare the dying or whatever.
Spare the dying. I took that one. It's like, hey, we're dropping like flies
let's
here.
Just say that
somebody that
if the entire party is unconscious, I can revive everybody at once.
He has a neat little ability for sure. But yeah, so like you were saying, it's kind of like the Talking Dead. So it's not just about, well, let's talk about these characters, let's talk about their relationships, but it's also, okay, well, what did you think of what happened last time, and what do you think is going to happen next? And basically last session was the idea of, we have all these little quests to do, and we keep coming back to this idea of people telling us about this Droki character, regardless of it's because of a specific connection to this grave ghost thieves guild kind of thing, or if it's because there's a belief that he's intertwined in some greater conspiracy. Multiple factions have said, this is where you should start. You should go after this guy. And so you guys essentially dug up that information. You had your conversation with the dragon. You tracked this Droki character from the Blade Bazaar to the West Cleft District, where you kind of had to work your way around just like the hordes of insane Darrow that just kind of are crazy. And eventually you found your way into this kind of hidden entrance to the Whirlstone Tunnels. And in going there, there was that cool ring that Autumn Willow's character found.
It's just a nice ring.
It's just a nice ring, yeah. We'll see what happens with that.
Just a nice ring. Just like the one ring.
That's right, yeah. It's precious to her.
Yeah. She didn't go invisible when she put it on.
No, she did not go invisible, that's true. Because she is wearing it. And so you had 3 ways to go. And you knew that Droki went one way, and you knew that there was something nasty down the other way, and there was a center way that just seemed to kind of maybe lead to water, or I don't know what. But basically, you guys said, well,
we looked into the center one.
No, no one's looked into the center one.
So it leads to water, so we know that now.
We'll do the center one so that we can level up and save the level up for mid-combat, so we can just re-heal up.
Yeah.
You're just the worst.
Min-max forever.
That's how Skyrim works. That's how everything works.
And so you went to the right, and you found Pepito, who was kind of like a long time annoyance, not because he's been pestering you, but because there was some meaning to his kind of betrayal and his escape.
He killed an elven prince. He had to die.
That's accurate, yeah.
I mean, he wasn't really an elven prince,
but your characters don't know that.
He was an elven prince in nobility. He deserved to.
And he didn't just kill him. He like flayed him and like
ritualistically murdered him. Yeah. And so you re-encountered him in his, I guess, his lair. I mean, there was body parts everywhere. He had a little shrine going to himself, and he wound up raising some skeletons, and this shrine became a flesh golem, and that was this big combat that happened, and it was a dicey combat, and it came down to the wire, but you guys were victorious. You overcame the challenges, defeated it, that kind of thing. So I don't know, like, what do you guys like? How do you see you guys progressing forward from there?
Well, that kind of led to some conflict between the DM and the players because we're like, well, we're just at the welcome mat of these long and horrible tunnels, and now we're like, we need to do a long rest. We're all gonna die.
No, we're fine.
Yeah, we're cool. We're just gonna eat. We're gonna eat all the rotten flesh parts that are all over the ground and regen.
If Robert dies again, that just means I get to roll up Taylor the Swift.
No, I will kill her.
Which is my elven character. He's just waiting on the sidelines to come in.
But I mean, you have different options that you guys have kind of mentioned. There was the idea of, well, let's just do a short rest.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's fine. You can do a short rest.
With me. I'm a warlock.
Roll everything back in a short rest.
You guys toyed with the idea of leaving the tunnels to do a long rest, in which case, you can do that. But now all of a sudden it's like, well, what will have become of Droki.
Yeah.
And then there's the idea of just kind of foraging onward. And there was some unique circumstance here as well with the idea of there was that incident with the Darrow in the West Clef District that drained you of some of your abilities before we got to the meat and potatoes of the entrance to the Whirlstone tunnels.
We got to the soup of the Whirlstone tunnels. We didn't even get to the
soup.
Meat
Yeah, that's right.
No, we're still on the salad.
The salad course. Yeah.
The breadsticks.
And on top of that, it wasn't so much a conflict between the DM and the players as much as it was, well, we want to tell you about our experience so far, which I appreciated, and it actually, having a face-to-face conversation with you about it came across better than the text, because through the text all I was hearing was it's too hard, and I was always kind of like, but that's the point. Like the campaign, which is different than other D&D campaigns, is meant to be brutal, is meant to be grueling, is meant to feel hopeless, and you have to trust in the DM that there will be a limitation to that, and that it's not just, the deck is not just automatically stacked against you, and also the story and the campaign will evolve in different ways as it moves forward. There's a lot of content left, you know what I mean?
I'm pretty upset that we didn't bring our NPCs with us, since one of them is a giant mushroom.
No, you just...
Well, there's that, yeah.
We left them back because they were a...
hindrance,
whatever it is.
But at the same time, I mean, what do you have left? Like maybe 4 or 5 companions from the NPCs? Like maybe they could be of aid.
No,
you never know. Like
literally, Sareth
Jim Jar's jumped in before and really saved the day.
Sareth is the most useless character in the world. My character has not seen the auto healing abilities of the twins, so we have no idea how useful they are.
True.
They're probably werewolves or like were-rats or were-somethings.
Yeah.
Wearable.
Well, who knows? Maybe they've been tracking you all along. Maybe Baby doesn't like being put in a corner.
What?
Maybe the NPCs followed you.
That's true.
You never know. There's definitely those different options available to you. One thing that I will tell you guys, meta, so your characters, I don't want this to influence your play as much as possible, but there's a Facebook group that's dedicated to about 2,500 DMs that are all running this campaign.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And I kind of posted, this idea of that, and specifically about the idea of healing potions, because you guys said, well, can we buy healing potions? And, healing potions are such a classical game trope in everything that it's like they're almost a cop-out. It's almost like, if we're going somewhere, why wouldn't we just buy 100 healing potions or as much as money could buy?
I don't like healing potions.
And in the book, it specifically says, that's not how they should be treated. Healing potions are not just like, let's go grocery shopping and buy healing potions. It's more like to the tune of, they're a specialty good. Like, your most likely way to get healing potions are to, do a task for a wizard, and the wizard might reward you with healing potions, or, an alchemist, or for you to craft them yourself,
it's a legit magic item.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And I kind of got people who said, yeah, that's absolutely right. And I got people who said, well, the book kind of says in Gracklestuk that you can get, you can realistically buy anything that's in the player's hand guide, as long as it's not like a hardcore magic item. And so maybe that applies here. And maybe that was my mistake. But I have kind of figured out a way to implement something similar into the story, that I have already dropped at least one hint to in the Facebook chat group kind of thing, that may
Cannibalism.
Satisfying. Not cannibalism.
How many
surprisingly not cannibalism.
How many HP
like
points
Skyrim.
do you get for Long Pig?
Like
Oh my God.
like Skyrim. You just pause, have a feast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Our characters
I
do
ate
that.
7 apples, 3 sweet rolls, and this stew.
Well, that is a thing. I missed that spell.
Yeah,
The hero's
the
feast.
hero's
Hero's
feast.
feast.
Yeah.
Boom.
Nom, nom. Oh, I'm
Takes an
so
hour.
better.
It takes an hour to prep.
Yeah.
It does. Well,
You gotta cook all that food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think
Hint.
it's
You just
interesting.
have
Do you
to
guys have
imagine.
any predictions of
I don't
going
even know
forward?
what the hint was. I forget everything.
No, not that.
Like
do
what you
do
can scrounge up.
Yeah, I did say that.
I'm probably gonna search all the dead bodies. Ken's gonna definitely eat some of those.
Fungus. I think it might have to do
Yeah,
with
there's
like
mushrooms
and
everywhere.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
The Underdark's littered with mushrooms.
yeah, so I think that
But only some of them are safe, and we don't have Sarah with us to tell us which ones are safe anymore.
Remember, Bard had a conversation with Sarah and
Yeah,
literally
about
wrote
making
all of them
true.
down.
Mushroom
I think
soup.
I think we're good to push forward as long as we have a route to retreat. If we push forward, chances are we'll figure stuff out. We might be able to get more info. We might succeed. Worst comes to worst, we should be able to retreat, pull out, and maybe go back at it later with some detriment, obviously, to losing like 10 hours of time. But I don't think we're any real issue. A flesh golem is pretty high up there right now for our characters fighting, and it's going to be.
And you never know what challenges actually lay ahead.
Yeah,
Like,
so
maybe the whole rest of the tunnel's not that bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly,
in the Underdark, it's just great.
Underdank.
Yeah, the Underdank.
I honestly don't think we'll get much worse than a flesh golem, and if we do, it's one of it, a bunch of us, we just run away.
That's true,
I'll just die.
And this is
again.
the thing is, there's only been, out of all the really tough encounters you guys have had, there's only really been one instance where there wasn't an option to run.
No, 2.
What was the second one?
The trolls.
The trolls.
The trolls.
Yeah, if we hadn't
No, because they can
convinced...
move
Boated away.
No, they move faster than we paddle. The other one was
But the trolls weren't.
The Minotaurs.
The Minotaurs were the first one.
Yep.
But the trolls also, you guys didn't really struggle with that.
That's because
Yes,
we
they did.
convinced one of them to go find
Yeah,
itself.
one of them you just magicked away
And
in
if
one
we
turn.
hadn't, it would have been
And-
terrible.
and the other
we had
one-
no fire.
But even still, the other one
No
you
fi-fi.
didn't down anyone. It just
Yes.
kept.
Yes.
You kept dropping it, and it just kept getting back up.
It downed 2 people.
Yeah, it was. Fun.
I had to smite it with a torch.
Because we had
Yeah, it was boss.
no
but how
fi-fi.
good? How good did that feel though?
It felt good, but the point
It was a creative way to win the
But
fight.
the point was, the other troll literally did nothing because it was instantly told to run away.
Yeah.
If that hadn't happened, we would have literally been TPK'd in like 5 turns.
Yeah, because
They
only
would have eaten us. It's not. You can't just use that.
It is though. That's the.
we had torches. If we would have been flipped over, we wouldn't have had those.
Yep.
I tried making a Molotov cocktail, and that failed miserably. It just kind of went bloop in the water, and it was gone. Right?
I am the Underdark.
Next campaign I run, I'll just say, well, that's life.
That's it.
Day 1, Sumac destroys the universe. That's it.
Game over.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good though. I mean, I think that the role play is good. I think that the adventure is interesting.
I
so
can't
far.
wait. So we've been tiptoeing around Demigorgon and demons as enemies. Ilvara is still looking for us.
Yep.
I am super excited for I've never read the book, but it's a book and it has adventure tropes in it. So I can't wait for the inevitable showdown with Ilvara halfway through the book, where, maybe she'll be killed by demons after being just shy of killing us or whatever.
No, she has to be killed by me. She has to be.
With
razor wire.
Razor wire. I can't wait for the
Sign for your delivery, bitch.
So I don't think we'll be fighting Demigorgon, although we might be fighting. Okay, so Demigorgon obviously is like a challenge rating whatever thing. Like I'm expecting like Tarask level, probably more in terms of
Demogorgon.
of difficulty. It's a demon prince. It's gonna be something.
It is the demon.
Yeah,
prince.
it is the demon prince. It's not meant to be killed by players. However, think like Oblivion. Dagon Gent's there, and the players are interacting with it. So it might be something like we're fighting with Demigorgon present, but we have something helping us. Maybe another demon, because there's been a hint at a demon fight. So I'm excited for the inevitable confrontation with Ilvara. I'm excited for the inevitable confrontation with the Demigorgon and what it might present in the interesting scenarios. Because right now we've been tiptoeing around it, people have been going crazy here and there. We've had the drow come for us in Gracklstugh saying, we own these slaves. And Gracklstugh guards saying, we'll see. We can use them right now, but we'll get that sorted out. So we're on a timetable to kind of get off the leash.
One thing that I'm... no, I'm not even going to say it. We'll just have to wait and see.
I want us to befriend and ride Themberchode.
Yeah, that is one thing that I'm okay. Here's what I'll say: is that much like a lot of video games and stuff that you guys are familiar with, your decisions have consequences later on in the game, and I can't tell you enough that all the stuff you guys are doing, there will be a time when you have to revisit some of these locations, and they will look different based on the choices you make now.
Gracklstug's going to be destroyed.
Like, will you support the Keepers of the Flame, or will you support Themberchode?
I'm tempted to support Themberchode so that he causes a huge distraction so that we can leave.
Yep, I'm on board with that.
But at the same time, the captain of the Stone Guard has already said, if you do this task for me, I'll see you out of the city.
I don't know them.
But we might be able to say, hey, Themberchode, bring us out of the Underdark.
Well, but how would he...
set the city ablaze, and then we just walk out the front gates?
Because he said, I'll give you protection. Bring us to Blingdenstone, which has a route that leads out of the Underdark.
That's true.
Because Blingdenstone is very far away.
What about Stool?
We'll work it out.
Neverlight Grove's on the way to Blingdenstone.
That we could drop him off.
Okay. Yeah. Assuming the dragon can leave the city.
We saw him flying.
But remember, the whole shtick between the Keepers of the Flame and Themberchode is that they kind of psionically... not control him, but dampen him.
Yeah, but that might change when we tell them that they're planning on killing him and replacing him with someone else.
Hypothetically speaking, if the Stone Guards say you're free to leave, and the Drow say, well, screw that, we're going to take these people. Themberchode, can you do stuff so that we can slip out? Can you kill Ilvara? Can you maybe do this? There's some options, but again. Siding with Themberchode is a little iffy because
he is a red dragon.
He's not the first one to be killed by Gracklstugh. If they've done it once, they can do it again. However, he would have the element of surprise, so you never know.
Well, and a lot of it depends on the egg. Who knows what condition you'll find it in, and if it's in good condition, who will you give the egg to, or will you keep it for yourself?
If it's if it's in bad condition, I think we should side with Themberchode because I don't think the Flame Guard would be too happy.
We can go full Game of Thrones and just raise the dragon, our own.
No, red dragons
you just
full.
Be Mother of Dragons.
Yeah. One thing I will say though is if Robert,
but his boss
is if Robert Bastion dies, I'm going to petition to have him be a space ghost for Bard.
It's coast to coast.
A space ghost? Oh, yeah.
Use the Force, Bard. That's her
Justice.
Level up. That's her level up into Paladin.
Yeah, exactly. Smite. You are the Smite. Yeah.
I become the soul in the sword.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that I think will conclude our episode of At the Players Pub for today. Our drinks are finished. Our conversation has covered most of what we want to cover. So I guess next time around, I'll be roping Cole in here, and he has enough ADD and personality to kind of be a one-person guest on his own.
Yeah. True.
So we'll see how that goes. And of course, much like yourself, he has a lot of experience with games. So I'm interested to see his point of view and all this stuff, and we'll have had a few more sessions between them as well, so the story will advance, his experience will have advanced, but thanks to both you guys for joining with me, kind of sharing your experiences and your characters, and I'm sure we'll do this again sometime. By the way, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time on At the Players Pub. Bye.
Bye.